this video, we'll talk about the third type of data set, which is known as independently pooled cross-sections. And so here we are really thinking about cross-sectional data sets that are just collected at different points in time and pooled together. Okay, so pooled cross-sections, as the name suggests, is just a bunch of different cross-sections that are collected at different times and are then pooled together. Okay. As an example, you might want to think about a random sample that was collected on working age U.S. citizens at different time points. So 1990, 2000, and 2010. And we might be interested in answering some sort of a question related to some changes that have occurred over time. So one type of question that we might be interested in is, what is the importance of attending college on salaries? So what is the effect of attending college on salaries, and has that really changed over time, right? So we might want to pick up cross sections from different points in time, and this has a lot of advantages, and we'll study that in a bit. One really popular pool cross section is the Survey of Consumer Finances. This is a survey that's run by the Federal Reserve Board, and is usually a pool cross section, but it's collected, the data is collected every 3 years. So it's a triennial survey of US households, a very rich data set, which has information on US families' asset and liability positions. So very rich data set. You know a lot about those positions for different types of households in the US. So, when you think about just kind of obtaining a random sample each year, that would be small compared to the entire population. And it would be very rare that the same person would appear twice. So if someone appears twice in the sample, that's okay with us. It's because the size of the independently pooled cross-section might be so big that this is not going to be a big deal. Now, typically, independently pooled cross-sections are useful for policy analysis as well. So other than thinking about what changes have occurred over time, we might be interested in answering a policy question or even to study an intervention, right? So to look at things before and after. So you can maybe have, let's say you had some intervention that happened in 1990, you might have some data on something in 1988, and then you might have something in 1992, and this is where the intervention was. So you want to look at what happened before and what happened after, and is there any difference? There are some data sets that you might want to explore. So this particular data set explores how does a new incinerator affect the sales prices of homes. Okay. Another type of data set that we'll look into right now is Fertile 1, which is which will be useful to look at what happened to fertility rates over time. And these are all coming from published papers. And so since these observations in a pool cross-section are independent, right, both within the cross-section, right, within the cross-sectional unit, whether it's households, families, states, and also across time periods, pool cross-sections can be treated or analyzed much like a single cross-section, which makes it really easy for us. But we can account for the differences that might occur in different time periods, okay? So let's take a look at what this might look like. So again, you can use the help command to look into this data set, Fertile 1, and this is examining the effects of women's schooling on fertility. right? So what has happened as more women have gotten educated over time, and this is cut off here, but this is published in Economic Letters. So if you do this, this should appear in R, and I think that's a good idea. So to do this side by side. And then you can look over here, it says it has 1,129 observations on 27 variables. I don't have all the variables listed here, but I'm giving you a snapshot here just to show you that the years are 72 to 84, but this is, the data is collected for even years. So you're going to have 72, 74, 76, and so on, right? And then you have other variables like years of schooling, mother's education, father's education, age, number of kids, some race variables, and some kind of variables that tell us about the geographical location, and then some year dummies. You can also head the data to look at the first 6 observations, and notice that, the way the data is structured is that you have, for each individual, you're going to have data for the year 72, and then once that's done, then you're going to have year 74, you're going to have a bunch of data, then year 76, bunch of data, and so on and so forth, right? So here we can see that for the first individual in the year 72, they have 12 years of education. Their mother and father studied for 8 years. This is a 48-year-old individual. They have 4 kids, and what else do we know? Yeah, so there's a bunch of other variables here, but we also know about the location. Okay, so this is how the data would be structured. And you can, if you want, you can also do tail data. So tail your data to look at the last 6 observations. And of course, if you want to look at more than that, more than 6, then you can just say 6 is the default. But if you want more than, let's say you want last 10 observations, you can just do this.